So let's talk about the concept of chasing versus building. And what do I mean by those two terms? Most producers and musicians that are trying to make music their full-time job are simply chasing something, right? They're chasing fame, they're chasing a record deal, they're chasing fans, they're chasing something that they believe will eventually deliver to them that end result that they want. And the classic case of this is the sort of stereotypical musician that's just putting out a bunch of music, trying to gain followers, in the hopes that a record label or a touring agency or somebody, maybe a publishing company, will kind of swoop down and go, wow, we love your music, you're incredible, you're the best things we've heard in 20 years, here's a record deal, here's a publishing deal, here's a tour. And sort of just lavish this artist with all of the success and riches and fame that they've been so patiently working towards, right? That's what I call a chasing business model. And using even the phrase business model is generous. I probably wouldn't even call that much of a business model as much as it is chasing a dream, chasing a pipe dream that happens for a very small number of producers or artists, and even less so these days in the modern world with the internet basically completely reorganizing and reorienting the entire music industry. That kind of stuff just doesn't happen really that often anymore. Most of the time, if you do go big from your online presence, it's because you had a viral hit, you had a viral video, you had a viral song, but it came organically through you. It came through the artist. But that's what most producers are doing, most musicians are doing, and they're just chasing sort of the pot at the end of the rainbow. I don't believe that that is the wise way to go. I don't think that's the smart way to go. I think that's what everybody else is doing. So if you want to stand out and you want to do something a little bit differently and you want to have a better shot at success, you probably shouldn't be following the crowd, because how many producers, think about it, are succeeding and making their full-time income by making music? I don't know if they've ever done studies on this, but from what I've seen and from my experience in this business, I'd say it's about 5% or less than 5% of all producers, all musicians, everybody who says they love to make music, create music in one form or another, are actually pulling it off, are actually doing it full time. So 95% of the producers out there, musicians out there, are chasing something and they're not getting what they want. They're not getting the end result. So if you have been trying this chasing method for years, and trust me, I used to do it as well. So I'm speaking from experience. I was in a band, was chasing the dream, hoping to get the big record label, get the big deal, go and tour the entire world, was pumped full of all kinds of beliefs and hype about my career. And it's exciting when you believe, I totally get that. But I'm just telling you from my experience, it didn't land me in success with the band that I was in. Okay, it didn't turn into any income. In fact, I was net negative in the band, paying to play gigs, paying for the equipment, paying for the gas, the transportation. No, I wasn't making any money. Never made any money with that. I'm going to talk about building now. Building, I believe, is the more strategic approach. It's the smarter approach, and it's what the 95% of people who aren't succeeding aren't doing, okay? This is what that 5% did. This is why they succeeded, and this is why those that are on the path to succeeding right now are doing well. They're building their career, okay? They're building a catalog, more specifically. This is not necessarily just tied to the TV film licensing business, although that is definitely what you're going to have to do if you want to succeed with the licensing industry. But even if you're just trying to create an online presence, an online buzz, an online whatever it is, you need to be creating and building a catalog, a massive, vast amount of music, okay? Maybe not all of it is stuff that you release to the public or that you eventually allow people to download or buy from you. It can be some of it just you are sort of practicing, getting your production chops up, your mixing and mastering chops up. But you should always be building something, okay? You should be building an empire, a catalog of music that even if not all of it goes out to the public, it can go get licensed maybe. It can go get placed, okay? The main difference that I notice with producers that are trying the traditional route of selling their music or going on tour, selling tickets, merchandise, albums, downloads, that kind of thing, and those like me that are doing TV, film, music licensing, is that less than 1% of the music that I make ends up sitting on a hard drive, not getting used or potentially getting used to generate income or a placement for me. Okay, I've had a handful of tracks in my 10 years in this business that aren't potentially, not all of them get me placements, but they're at least out there somewhere being able to be shopped and able and available to be placed in TV shows, movies, and commercials. You can't say that about most artists. Most artists actually have probably 50% or more of their music sitting on a hard drive, not collecting dust, not doing anything for them, okay? That's not building anything, okay? That's not building an empire of potentially passive income that can support you for years and years, potentially decades and decades into the future. So I want to challenge you, if that's where you are right now, you have just dozens of songs, hundreds of songs sitting on a hard drive, not potentially earning you anything, not potentially doing anything for your music career. That is literally a boat anchor. That music right there is doing actually more harm for you than good, because you're sitting on a wealth of work that doesn't generate anything from you, doesn't get anything for you. You don't earn any money from it, and what it really is a big representation of how much time you've wasted. That's what it is, because you spent that much time doing this. If, of course, the caveat is if you're trying to do this full time. If you're just making music for yourself, of course, that's not a waste of time. That's your art. That's your joy. That's your passion. So I want you to make sure you don't get confused here. But if you've been trying to do music full time and you want it to be your job, but you have just a wealth, like a whole catalog of music sitting on a hard drive, not doing anything for you, that is really, really bad. That is a really bad thing to have in your studio and around you. Okay, so what I encourage you to do is, if that can be transferred to be licensable, to actually start being used and distributed in the licensing business, consider doing something with that music and start building up a catalog. Build your career, okay? Don't just chase. Try to make a hit record. Oh, next one is going to be my hit record. Oh, it wasn't it? Okay, let me chase another. Let me chase another one. You're going to have good songs. You're not going to have great songs. But the thing in the licensing business is that, you're going to spread out your catalog, in that I'll be honest, like probably 10% of the music that I make, I really love. Most of the music I make, it's okay. Not that I hate it, but you're just not going to love everything that you ever produce. It's just life, right? You're going to have those few shining gems that you remember throughout the year that you produce. Like, I love that track and this track and this track. And then everything else, still can get placements. And I'll be honest, the biggest royalty checks that I've gotten, the biggest placements that I've gotten, usually come from tracks that I didn't care that much about. But of course, quality is subjective. People feel the music supervisor or the editor, whoever's in charge of choosing my track, they might have loved the track just because it was perfect for what they wanted. For my ears, I was like, I don't really care about that. I remember it was a Jack in the Box national commercial that aired during the Oscars. Huge campaign, nationwide. It was a throwaway track that I literally spent probably a couple of hours on. I had, I think, 11 tracks done for this album, and I had to just get something done by the end of the day, and I was like, all right, whatever. Basically just created a track from a template that I had done before and just spit it out. And it was literally one of the crappiest, worst tracks that I thought that I had ever done. Turns out that particular track, though, it was kind of cheesy, over-the-top metal music, and that's exactly what the creators of that Jack in the Box commercial wanted. Okay, so if that track, though, had just been sitting on my hard drive collecting dust because I was like, whatever, that's not so great, I'm not building, right? There's nothing being built there. My catalog is not growing, and I have no potential for passive income down the road. So I've definitely seen it for myself. This isn't just a theory. This isn't just an idea. I'm telling you that your key to success is your ability to build a catalog and a vast amount of tracks, a large enough catalog that you can always be generating more and new placements that'll eventually start growing into those royalty checks that can grow exponentially down the road. But if you're not building anything and you're just chasing this artist, chasing that sound, wanting to put out a hit, is this going to be a hit record? Oh, it's not a hit record. And you're kind of just, you're just frustrated and tired of that crap. I encourage you, start building, stop chasing.